Imagine a life where hard work guarantees stability, where a steady job means a home, a family, and a secure future. For generations, that was the bedrock of the American middle class, a dream vividly embodied in the heart of Pennsylvania. From the steel mills of Pittsburgh to the coal mines of Scranton and the farmland stretching across its rolling hills, Pennsylvania was a testament to blue-collar strength and enduring prosperity. But what if that dream, once so vibrant, is slowly, silently, turning into a nightmare? What if the economic forces silently reshaping the Keystone State aren't just local anomalies, but chilling preview of America's middle-class future by 2030? This isn't just about Pennsylvania's struggle. It's about a crucial battle for the soul of the American dream itself. For decades, Pennsylvania stood as a stalwart symbol of American industrial might and middle-class stability. Its geographical position, rich natural resources, and a robust workforce made it an economic powerhouse. The state's history is interwoven with narratives of self-made success and generational progress, largely powered by industries that provided stable, well-paying jobs requiring a strong work ethic, but not necessarily advanced degrees. Steel, coal, manufacturing, and agriculture formed the backbone of communities, allowing families to not just survive, but to thrive. A single income could often support a household, buy a home, and send children to college. This wasn't just economic theory. It was lived reality for millions. The state boasted strong unions that fought for workers' rights and fair wages, further solidifying the economic security of its middle class. Towns were built around factories and mines. Schools were well funded by local taxes, and community institutions flourished. The social contract seemed clear: work hard, and the system would provide. This era cultivated a sense of predictable progress and upward mobility that defined the American dream for many. The image of the proud, working-class Pennsylvanian, a homeowner with a stable job, became an iconic representation of national prosperity. However, the foundations of this seemingly unshakable prosperity began to erode, slowly at first, then with increasing speed. The late 20th century brought the first tremors of deindustrialization. Foreign competition, technological advancements leading to automation, and shifts in global economic policy started to dismantle the very industries that had made Pennsylvania strong. Steel mills, once roaring with activity, fell silent. Coal mines, once abundant, closed their shafts. Manufacturing plants, unable to compete with cheaper labor overseas, packed up and moved. Each closure wasn't just a loss of jobs. It was a devastating blow to entire communities built around these industries. Families who had worked in the same factory for generations suddenly found themselves without a livelihood, their skills deemed obsolete. The promises of retraining often fell short, and the new jobs that emerged were frequently in the service sector, offering lower wages, fewer benefits, and little of the stability that defined their parents' careers. This initial wave of economic disruption planted the seeds of doubt, signaling that the old pathways to the middle class were becoming increasingly precarious. The visible scars of this transition, abandoned factories, struggling main streets, serve as stark reminders of a fading era, the perfect storm, a confluence of modern economic headwinds. Today, Pennsylvania faces a complex web of modern economic headwinds that are accelerating the decline of its middle class. It's no longer just about the departure of old industries. It's about new, multifaceted challenges that are systematically dismantling the traditional avenues to economic stability. Automation and the new industrial revolution. While deindustrialization was about jobs leaving, automation is about jobs disappearing. Advanced robotics and artificial intelligence are now capable of performing tasks once handled by human hands in remaining manufacturing, logistics, and even administrative roles. This trend impacts not just factory floors, but also white-collar professions. For a state like Pennsylvania, with a significant portion of its workforce still in sectors vulnerable to automation, this represents a massive threat. The jobs that do remain often require highly specialized skills that many existing workers simply don't possess, creating a growing skills gap. The pace of this technological change is relentless, making it difficult for educational institutions and workforce development programs to keep up. This leaves many middle-aged workers, who may have decades of experience but outdated skill sets, in an increasingly precarious position. The rising cost of living versus stagnant wages. This is perhaps the most insidious threat to the middle class. While the cost of essentials, housing, healthcare, education, and even groceries, continues to climb relentlessly, wages for many middle-income jobs have largely stagnated or grown at a much slower pace. In Pennsylvania's urban centers and even desirable suburban areas, housing prices have become unaffordable for many working families, forcing longer commutes or pushing them into less desirable areas. Healthcare costs are a persistent burden, with rising premiums, deductibles, and out-of-pocket expenses eating into household budgets. Sending children to college, once a guaranteed path to upward mobility, now often requires crippling student loan debt, putting future generations at a disadvantage before they even start their careers. The promise of a better life for one's children, a cornerstone of the middle-class dream, is becoming increasingly difficult to fulfill. Families are forced to make impossible choices, sacrificing savings, leisure, or even basic necessities just to stay afloat. The gig economy and the erosion of benefits. The proliferation of the gig economy, while offering flexibility for some, has also contributed to fragmentation of traditional employment benefits. Many middle-income workers find themselves in contract roles or part-time positions without employer-sponsored health insurance, retirement plans, or paid time off. This shift places a greater financial burden on individuals, who must now independently manage benefits that were once standard components of a stable middle-class job. The perceived flexibility often comes at the cost of long-term financial security, making it harder to plan for retirement or navigate unexpected life events without a safety net. This is particularly problematic in a state with an aging population, where consistent contributions to retirement funds are vital. The instability inherent in many gig roles further diminishes the sense of security that traditionally defined the middle-class experience. An aging population and brain drain. Pennsylvania has one of the oldest populations in the United States, which presents a dual challenge. On one hand, an increasing number of retirees draw on Social Security and healthcare services, while a shrinking working-age population contributes less to the tax base. On the other hand, the state struggles with brain drain, where talented young people, often after graduating from Pennsylvania's excellent universities, leave the state in search of better economic opportunities or more dynamic job markets elsewhere. This exodus of youth deprives the state of critical innovative talent and future taxpayers, further exacerbating the demographic imbalance and hindering economic revitalization efforts. The vibrant communities that once attracted and retained young families now struggle to offer the same opportunities, creating a self-perpetuating cycle of decline. The human cost. Stories from the front lines of a fading dream. Behind the statistics and economic trends are the real lives of Pennsylvanians struggling to maintain their footing in a changing landscape. These are not just numbers. They are families, individuals, and communities grappling with profound uncertainty. The young professional's dilemma. Consider Sarah and Mark, both in their early 30s, working professional jobs in Harrisburg. Sarah is a teacher, and Mark works in IT. Together, their household income puts them firmly in what was once considered middle class. Yet, buying a starter home in a decent school district feels almost impossible. Student loan debts weigh heavily on them, and daycare costs for their young child consume a significant portion of Sarah's salary. They meticulously budget, often sacrificing leisure activities or dining out just to save a modest amount. The dream of a comfortable, financially secure life, one their parents achieved with less education and often single income, feels increasingly out of reach. They question if they'll ever truly get ahead, or they'll always be one unexpected expense away from financial distress. The blue-collar battle. Then there's David, a 55-year-old skilled machinist from a small town outside Pittsburgh. After 30 years of manufacturing plant, his job was automated last year. Despite his vast experience, finding a comparable position has been fruitless. The few manufacturing jobs available require different, newer technical skills, and David struggles with the idea of returning to school at his age, especially with family responsibilities. He's taken a part-time job at a hardware store, earning significantly less than half his previous wage, and without benefits. His retirement savings, once looking secure, are now dwindling rapidly, and he worries constantly about affording health care in his later years. The dignity and pride he once derived from his work have been replaced by a gnawing anxiety about his future, and the feeling that his lifetime of hard work counts for little in the new economy, rural isolation, and economic despair. In many rural parts of Pennsylvania, the economic challenges are compounded by geographical isolation and a lack of infrastructure. Small towns, once vibrant hubs of commerce, now see their main streets boarded up. Access to high-speed internet, essential for remote work and education, is still spotty. Healthcare facilities are closing, leaving residents with long drives for basic medical care. The opioid crisis has hit these communities particularly hard, often flourishing in areas where economic despair and a lack of opportunity have taken root. For families here, the middle-class dream has not just receded. It has been replaced by a pervasive sense of abandonment and hopelessness as they watch their children leave for cities with brighter prospects, often never to return. Policy paralysis and the search for solutions. The challenges facing Pennsylvania's middle class are not insurmountable, but they demand urgent, coordinated action and a willingness to rethink established approaches. The current policy landscape often feels reactive rather than proactive, struggling to keep pace with the rapid shifts in the global economy. Education and workforce development. A critical area for intervention is the alignment of education and workforce training with the demands of the 21st century economy. This means investing heavily in STEM education from an early age, promoting vocational training in high-demand technical fields, and offering accessible, affordable reskilling and upskilling programs for adult workers. Partnerships between community colleges, universities, and local industries are vital to ensure that educational offerings directly meet the needs of employers, creating clear pathways to stable, well-paying jobs. The goal should be to create a culture of lifelong learning, where individuals can continuously adapt and gain new skills throughout their careers, making them resilient to technological change. Infrastructure investment. Modernizing infrastructure goes beyond just roads and bridges. It includes robust broadband internet access across the entire state, updated energy grids, and efficient public transportation. High-speed internet is no longer a luxury but a necessity for economic participation, enabling remote work, online education, and access to telehealth. Investing in infrastructure not only creates jobs in the short term, but also lays the groundwork for long-term economic growth, making Pennsylvania a more attractive place for businesses and residents alike. This also includes investing in green infrastructure, positioning the state for future industries focused on sustainability and renewable energy. Affordable housing and healthcare. Addressing the rising cost of living requires multifaceted approaches. This includes supporting initiatives for affordable housing development, exploring innovative zoning reforms, and potentially implementing rent stabilization policies in high-demand areas. On healthcare, advocating for policies that lower insurance premiums, cap prescription drug costs, and expand access to affordable care is paramount. These are not just social welfare issues. They are economic imperatives that directly impact the financial stability of middle-class families. When basic necessities become unaffordable, disposable income evaporates, stifling local economies. Targeted economic development. Rather than relying solely on attracting large corporations, Pennsylvania needs a focus on nurturing local entrepreneurship and supporting small to medium-sized businesses that are deeply rooted in their communities. This means providing access to capital, mentorship programs, and resources for innovation, particularly in emerging sectors like advanced manufacturing, life sciences, and technology. Creating ecosystems where startups can flourish can generate new jobs and diversify the state's economic base, making it less vulnerable to the fortunes of a few large industries. Incentivizing businesses to stay and grow within the state through tax breaks or grants tied to job creation can also stem the tide of economic flight.